Today, as we continue our series on the codes of creation, which is the Hebrew letters, we are going to explore a very special combination of letters. It's called the tetragram. The tetragram is the four-letter name of God, which we use each time we say a blessing. I'm going to say a verse from Tehillim that contains it, so you know what I'm referring to. Baruch atah Adonai lamedeni chukecha. This name, Amonai, is composed of four letters. These four letters, the way they're written and the way we read the name of God is not the same way. There is a reason for that. Because in essence, God, on one hand, is within this reality, but at the same time, God is the master of reality and above reality. Let us explain. We're going to turn to our screens very soon as I prepare the screen, and we will see what are the four letters. If you have a Siddur before you, you will see that the four letters of the Hebrew Aleph Bet, the name of Hashem, consists of Yud and Hey and Vav and Hey, which is basically the smallest letter, which is a dot. The Hey, which we spoke about last time, which is basically a upside down L with a little Yud in the middle, a little dot in the front of it. And afterwards the Vav, which is a line, and then another Hey. Today we're going to explain how the combination of different letters form a tremendous energy, just like we mentioned earlier when it comes to your name. Your name is, let's say that, for example, your name is Noach, for example. So your name starts with the letter Nun, and it goes to the letter Chet. The letter Nun itself is one entity. The letter Chet itself is another entity. Together, they form a synergy, a power, which is tremendous. I'm not going to explain the name Noach today because of the reasons I only know. Okay, so let's share I'm going to share my screen with you, so like this we see what name we are talking about today, the name of Hashem. Now everybody will recognize right away, as you see on my screen, right? Yud and Hey. This is the letter Yud, this is the letter Hey, this is the letter Vav, and this is the letter Hey. So let's explain this name. In the name of God, this association of letters, you have three different combinations. You could say, if you look at the letter Hey and Vav and Hey, the way it is on my screen, it forms this word, which is Hoveh, which is the present. Upala, I'm in Hebrew script, so it's going to be a little difficult for me to, let me just go to my English script. The present. Upala, too big, Rabbi. Get my font, I'm sorry. See, that's why. Okay, so the word Hoveh in Hebrew is the word present. And you see in the name of God, you have the word present. And with the letter Yud and Hey, you can as well form, I'm going to make the font a little smaller. I mean, it's always more pleasant to have a font which is bigger. Like this, we'll be able to see more in our screen, instead of having to go from screen to screen. Go. Thank you for your patience. So we have, in the name Hashem, you have the letters Hey, Vav, Hey, which form the word present, which we're going to explain right now. I'm going to write it down like this. Those who are not so fluent in Hebrew can understand what we're talking about. Present is Hove. In the word Hove, you have Hove in the name of Hashem. You could have as well the word Haya. The letter in Hebrew, the letter Hey, Yud, and Hey. Hey, Yud, and Hey. And you could have the name Yud and Hey. So, Hove means present. Haya means past. Yiyeh means future. You notice how different combinations of letters are all included in God's name, Yud Ke Vav Ke. Why is that? Everything is relative. Let me go back. You can stop sharing the screen. So, in our life, when we talk about life and existence, so let's go. I'm going to introduce you to some Kabbalistic concept, which is called the Tzimtzum. God is the omnipresent. He is the master of everything. But before being the master of, the king of, the creator of, first and foremost, he is. And he is himself in his full power. Now, what does that mean? Of course, no human being can understand this. So, God is in his essence. Now, Kabbalah explains to us that the moment that God wanted to create the world, he had this desire to create the world. God actually pushed his light away in order to be able to emanate a light which is an infinite light from which everything would get its existence. I'm going to give you a little parable which is explained in Hasidic philosophy, and you will understand much better what I'm talking about. Imagine for a second a great teacher. We have such a great teacher by the name of Rashi. Rashi Rabbi Shlomo Yitzchaki. He is the one that wrote the classical commentary on the Torah. Now, the way he wrote it was for a 5-year-old. Now, imagine Rashi. He writes a commentary to explain to us the scriptures which are completely obscure to us. I'm going to give you a simple example and you'll understand what I'm saying. Like this, it doesn't seem just words. The Torah says, you will write these words, al mezuzot betecha uvisharecha. You will write these words on the doorposts of your homes and gates. Now comes the question. What words? How? On the doorpost. Up the doorpost. In what color? On parchment. How do I know what to do? Rashi understands that the 5-year-old child, when he reads the Torah, is not going to understand what we're talking about. But at the same time, Rashi has studied all the commentaries of the Talmud, and the Mishnah has expounded by our sages, and he's even learned the Midrash, which means the homiletical explanation behind these verses. He studied the Zohar and the secrets of Torah. So he has all this light and tremendous amount of information. The big professor, the big rabbi, with the genius, with all this information. And now he has to communicate a maximum of information in a very little amount of words. Because when there's too much words, you know what happens to all of us, especially in this generation. So what does Rashi do? Rashi is going to have to, for a second, completely clear his mind. So what happens? Suddenly, a brain which was illuminated with light and information has now, all the information and the light has been pushed to the side. There is a moment of darkness, so to say. There's a moment of restriction. And in that restriction, there's nothing. There's nothingness. Afterwards, there's a process of rethinking the words I need to choose in order for the student, which is 5 years old, at his level, to understand the verse, how he can understand it. And at the same time, a person, a holy tzaddik and genius in Torah like the Lubavitcher Rebbe, at the age of 93, 92, still expound and reveal to us the great secrets behind these words at his level. So it's one fits all. One fits you according to your level, according to your understanding. So here we have the interaction of two forces. The mashpia, the one giving, and the mekabel, the one receiving. And that's what he does. After having put a blank in his mind, he's going to rethink the words and emanate something from him, an information that everybody at his level, whether he is 5 or 95, whether he's not learned it, whether he's very, very learned it doesn't matter. Everybody is going to get information from this, according to his level, and understand the nuance of why this word was used and not another one. That is the process of tzimtzum. At a personal level, I need to constrict my brain and put everything aside, and afterwards emanate a new light of knowledge. That's what Hashem did. At the beginning, God was omnipresent everywhere, and his light and was infinite, emanating from him, and continues to be infinite. But in order to create a finite world, you need to actually constrict yourself. And that, I'm going to go back to our screen. Like this, we will see what I'm talking about. That is the first letter, the letter Yud of God's name. The letter Yud of God's name is but a dot. It's nothing else but a dot. It's already the fact that God constricted his whole light and the energy to the creation of all the spiritual realms, all the way to planet Earth, the sun, which is 150 million kilometers away from the Earth, and the moon, which is 400,000 kilometers from the Earth, and Saturn, which is 2 light years away from the Earth, all the way down to here, all the way down to our class today in our little camera and computer that are connecting us in this class. It's one big line. But everyone at his level is able to receive God's vitality. So that is illustrated by the Yud. God has to constrict his light. And then there's going to be the Hey. If you notice, the letter Hey is a very, very interesting letter. It's a letter that has width, a letter that has height, and a letter that has depth. Width on the top, height and depth. Why? Because basically it is the development. The Hey, so to say, is the receiver that receives the light of the Yud. Then if you look at the letter Vav, the letter Vav is like one big line, as you see my marker here. It's basically the Yud, which is drawing down. It's being drawn down. It's the energy of the Yud, which is coming down to even a lower level. We're now going, at the beginning when it's Yud and Hey, we're talking about thought, the epiphany, the seminal idea, and then the development of the idea, the way it's received by the developer that's going to develop the idea at the level of thought. The Vav is already drawing it down through what's called the emotions, And the Hey, again, the Hey is a recipient that's going to express it with physical words. And that's why the world was created with words. So, stop sharing here. What happens is that name of Hashem really represents the whole force of the world. That's why it's Haya, he was, Hove, he is, Yiyeh, he will be, and it's all in one word. It's a very, very potent, powerful name of God. Now, let's explain something very, very important. One of the foundations of the belief, one of the 13 principles of faith, is the fact that God is omnipresent. He created us, and He created the world. And when we talk about creation, I would like you to ponder on the following idea. God created space, which means that before God created or had the intention to create, the concept of space, limitation did not exist. And the same thing is with time. We understand what time is. Time is 24 hours in a day, 1,440 minutes in a day, 8,000, yes, correct. And so many seconds, multiply that by 60 seconds each one. So you have these extraordinary numbers, times 24, I'm sorry. So 1,440 times 60 comes out to 1,286,400 seconds. That's not infinity. That is still limited because it's one part with another part with another part with another part. God basically created the limitations of time. When God did this contraction of his light to limit it to a receiver, when you talk about a receiver, you're talking about limitations of space and time. When you connect, so how did God do that? It says it's in Zohar Kadosh, Yistakel be'oraita ubara alma. God looked in the Torah and He created the whole universe. What does that mean? He basically used the 22 Hebrew letters as expressions which are going to express His light. Each letter with his shape is going to express it in a different way. And its combination of a letter will express a certain potent power of God. In this case, the name of God is actually before and deeper than the atomic level. Let me explain. In quantum physics, we believe that at the core of everything there is an atom, proton, a neutron. And really, at that level, matter does not matter. There's no difference between a chair and a table and a ladder and a building and anything. At this level, everything is one. But what actually gives the power of existence to the atom? It's the power of God, which is in the Hebrew letters. There's a verse that says in Tehillim, Psalms, Le'olam Adonai devarecha nitzav b'shamayim. Forever, God, your word stands in the heaven. Explains the Midrash Tehillim, and the Baal Shem Tov expounded on this, that this word, for example, that you say that may there be the heavens, may the heavens be, the sky be created. Yehi Rakia. So the word Yehi Rakia, the letters Yud, Hey and Yud, which is Yehi, there should be. Rakia, Resh, Kuf, Yud, Ain, 4 other letters, which mean heavens. These letters actually stand in the heavens, and they are the channel through which God recreates and recreates every moment the existence of the heavens. Which means that basically there's the life force, so to say, of God. At its purest level, we cannot exist. God makes this constriction. He constricts his light, conceals his light, permits us only to catch whatever we are able to catch. The angels at their level, the higher supernal levels at their level, and us at our level. But this is all being regulated by the Hebrew letters. And that's why the Hebrew letters are so potent. But it's the Hebrew letters which are inside the Torah. Now, the famous question. Istakel beoraita ubara alma. Why did God have to look in the Torah that he himself wrote in order to create the world? I was asked this question by my son when he was 8 years old. He learned this in class, that God looked in the Torah and created the world. And we went on a walk. I very, very encourage everyone. You have boys and you're men. Take walks with your children with no phones. It's a good thing. You'll find out that I actually study something in school. And you're not just throwing your money away. So, my son asked me, I don't understand. Why did God have to look in the Torah in order to create the world? So right away, I started asking myself the question. Well, one of the possible explanations is because God is our mirror. Whatever he asks us to do, he does himself. And therefore, by us looking in the Torah, studying the Torah, God is teaching us that we could create reality as well. This week I was thinking about this concept. I was thinking to myself, imagine being able to look in God's eyes. What would that look like? Well, if God looked in the Torah to create the world, and you yourself are looking in the Torah, in essence, you're looking in God's eyes. You are connecting to the life force that brings into existence time and space. And that's why I want to tell you the most difficult times in my life, where sometimes I could not pay any of my bills, or I was about to foreclose on my house or the synagogue. At that moment, I turned to humans, physical human people, and saw that I could not be able to get out of this problem, whatever the problem is. And at that moment I said, why am I running after people which are here today and tomorrow will not be here? Let me turn to Hashem. If I really truly believe in God, let me communicate with him by taking time every day to study Torah. And that's exactly what I did. I sat down and I started putting an hour, even 2 hours a day in the study of Torah instead of running after people. And suddenly there was a transformation in my world, and I saw how people were literally coming to hand me money to be able to continue the projects we were doing. So basically, when the Torah and the Mishnah and the ethics of our fathers says, Kol hamekabel alav ol Torah, ma'avirin mimenu ol malchut ve'ol derech eretz, When you accept the yoke of Torah, which means the yoke of studying Torah, to be able to clear your mind and just connect to God through the study of Torah, basically connecting to the Hebrew letters, which are the letters of creation, connect to the Hebrew letters, which are the channels of energy, which are behind the atoms that form this whole universe. At this moment, you get to the root of the problem, and you're connected to your true life force. And then you could speak about time management. Let's speak about time management. The name of God, we said, Yud Ke Vav Ke, is Haya, he was, Hove, he is, Veye, he will be. Which means that as long as you connect to something which is physical and you put your energy into it, you are only connecting in that moment to that physical thing. The moment that you connect to the godliness in the object, the moment you reveal the godliness in the object, for example, by saying a blessing on food, or by doing things according to Torah, you align the physical world with the godly reality. At that moment, you tap into something which is above space and time. You tap into the energy flow. And once you tap into the energy flow, there are big theories, which is today, especially in this generation, which say that you don't have to work as hard as you are working in order to be able to have success. You have to work smarter. And the way to work smarter is to be more present. And that's why the name of God in it has the word Hove. When can you touch infinity in time? When you are completely immersed in the present with everything that you are doing. What does it mean to be immersed in the present? So we said God's name is divided into 4 letters. In the present is basically these 4 letters. There is at the level of thought, there is the seminal idea, there are the ideas and the thoughts that come to you, and there is the way you develop the thoughts. You have to bring what's called Yichud Abba ve'ima. You have to bring the father and mother in perfect, intimate unity, which is the unity of the right brain and the left brain, the Yud and the He. To bring them in a unity where the seminal idea and the development of this idea become one. That's already the first act of presence. Then you have another set of ideas which are already more in the realm of practicality. You have to bring your emotions and your speech and action, which are represented, the Vav. Vav is a numerical value of 6, which represents the 6 different emotions of man, right? Love, fear, and etc. And then you bring it into the Hey. You let it develop. You are a recipient to what your heart has to say. Your speech and action are recipients to your emotions, and your power of development, of discernment, is a recipient to the great creativity you have. Once you create that unity at a mind level, that's the Yud and the He, and you do that at an emotional level, which is the Vav and the He, in the practicality, you bring your emotions and your actions to be one. Then you align completely with the mind, the heart, and the actions. At that moment, you are in a state which defies gravity, even defies the limitations of time and space, and make you fully present. So when Kabbalists would contemplate on this great name of God, it was in order to be able to connect and be one with the source of time and space, with the essence of creation at its deepest level, and that is a level of complete fusion, peace, and harmony, which brings to a synergy of the body and soul and give you a tremendous power. At that moment, you become a vessel for infinity because you're connected to God's name. He was, Haya, Hoveh, He is, Yeh, He will be. What did we learn today? Today we learned that the process of creation is one where God puts Himself, so to say, His light, not His essence, His light aside in order to permit us to exist. And He emanates from Himself a light that's going to be calculated to our needs. Like God does not give you a test or something that you cannot handle. Everything is in accordance to and proportionate to our capacity. He draws down His light all the way to the world of action, which is our reality. And by us connecting to Him, by being fully grounded, fully present, we are able to maximize our time, to maximize our energy by being in complete fusion with Him. Now you understand why God's name on one hand is written Yud and Hey and Vav and Hey. We're not allowed to pronounce it the way it's written, but it is expressed in a different way, Adonai, Adonai, which is the master, our master, my master, which is the concept of time. Because God is able to unite what's above time and space within time and space. When we do that ourselves by the study of Torah, by doing a mitzvah, or just by being present, fully present in everything that we do, which is a tremendous effort in this generation, and at the moment we are able to expand the boundaries, our personal boundaries. Tonight is Rosh Chodesh Av. It is the first of the 9 days in which we mourn the destruction of the first and second temple. We have to know that it is specifically in the time that we see darkness, that this is the time that we are the closest to God. I want to base this on what we said before. The teacher, Rashi, at the moment that he completely ignores the student, and his mind goes blank of all the information, and he is thinking, how can I give the message to the child in a way that it will not be overwhelming for him? For the student, for the child, the teacher seems to be somewhere else, seems to be absent. But really the teacher is more present than ever in the child and student's life, because he is thinking, how can I do so he will understand? You understand? At the moment that we think that God has destroyed the first and the second temple, and we think that God, so to say, God forbid, abandoned us, He is really rethinking how He can create and build a third temple, which means create a reality which is going to be a eternal fusion between us in a way that we can comprehend and in the way that He is satisfied and we're fulfilling His will. I want to wish you all Chodesh Tov, Shabbat Shalom, a wonderful, wonderful week. And Bezat Hashem, may we see the rebuilding of the temple, and when we finally see the revelation of Mashiach right now. God bless you. Thank you very much for joining us. A special thanks to BTI for sponsoring this class and many of the Soul Boost classes. Thank you.